Good afternoon, and today I am welcoming Elisabeth Flack into the storm shelter to be the guest on the storm report for this afternoon. Um, Elizabeth also goes by the nickname, which everyone calls her by this, is Mother Flocker. So, with that, Mother Flocker, give us your story.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm a mom of four.
Nice.
My oldest is 21. My youngest is 11. One daughter, three sons. So Mother Flocker is that I'm a mom of a lot of children, and my last name is Flock, so hence Mother Flocker.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm extremely sarcastic and could be a bit of a mother effer if you try me too hard. So it kind of has a double entendre because I'm in marketing and it's kitschy and it's funny. So that's just my personal brand, but it's actually my persona. And I talk about how, and they say in business, you buy things from people that you know, like, and trust. And the real reason why people do business with me is because, like, who I am, which really is Mother Flocker. It's just a cooler way of letting people get to know who I am, kind of thing. So that's that. And let's see, what else is my story? I've been in marketing since I graduated college. I am a perceived expert at digital marketing. I've done it for a very long time. I work with a lot of really cool industries, kind of driving leads and sales to their brands. My main lane of genius and real understanding is in the sports and entertainment and hospitality industries. They all kind of collide. Plus, everybody wants to be a part of sports and entertainment and hospitality, right? As a consumer, it's kind of a slam dunk in terms of when you're trying to sell products and services.
Yeah.
I was a contractor, and I still do for a handful of their events. I contracted for ESPN events for many years. So there's ESPN, the programming side, and then there's the event side. So they basically own 27 events, basketball tournaments, postseason bowl games, like the Las Vegas Bowl, for instance. I work for them every year. And they own the rights to all of them so they can sell against them, right? So they own the eyeballs and the assets, and it's just an additional revenue generator. So I got brought into, basically, I was an early adopter of Facebook advertising, and nobody understood how to leverage it. So I became the social media girl that put butts in seats.
Nice.
So I would use digital advertising to drive ticket sales to some of their events that needed a little extra nudge, or they needed to increase their numbers. We broke a couple of internal records a few years in a row, which was pretty cool for them.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my claim to fame, if you will, and what I've done for a long time. I don't really tell a lot of people what I did. So for years, people were like, what do you do? You just get to do all these really cool things. Like, you're on the 50-yard line at the college football playoff. And I'm like, well, I work for them. They're like, what? I'm like, well, they're my customer. So it's kind of funny. So now I'm more so sharing, I guess, my story, where before I just kind of was head down working, and I really didn't have time to talk to too many people and tell all the things that I did. So I've gotten to work with amazing people, global brands, celebrities, athletes, just you name it. Sat at some pretty amazing tables with people far more successful and Googleable than I. But it's been a really cool journey along the way, and my kids get to live a pretty cool life. They get swag and they get to be sidelined. So, I'm kind of the cool mom.
That would be cool, because that's the one thing, that, you talk about people like to be associated with sports and marketing, and, I see it all the time. And I'm not one of those people that when I see an athlete, I run up to him and ask for an autograph, but well, maybe you're not surprised because you've probably seen it. How many people just flock to them, and then they get disappointed that they don't want to stand there for 30 minutes signing autographs or taking pictures.
Yeah, I actually have a pretty funny story. So Takeo Spikes is a personal friend of mine, and he was my client for many years. So my team helped build his Behind the Mask brand that he has online. He had a book. Mm-hmm. He's a photographer, post-retirement, very, very talented. He actually took on my website, motherflocker.com, that picture. He did like a whole photo shoot for me. And I was like, I need branding photos. Let me see how good you are. And so long story short, he had a 40th birthday party many years ago, and he invited me, right? And like a couple of my friends from Tampa, a couple of retired Bucks players. So we all went up there, and it's in an airplane hangar, like a private airplane hangar. It was really cool. And Charles Barkley walks up because
Uh-oh.
he's good friends. They're both Auburn grads and they sit on the board, the alumni, all that kind of stuff. So Charles Barkley walks up and he kind of takes a look at me. I mean, I was looking kind of fly. I had this amazing dress on. I was looking like a couple years younger. So, you know, and Keo goes, yo, you know Flock? And he goes, no. And I go, you don't know who I am? I'm like, I don't even know who I am. And I'm like, what's your name? He totally knew who he was. And I was just totally messing with him. And he started laughing. And I was like, no, like, seriously, what's your name? He's like, Sir Charles. And I was like, I'm Queen Elizabeth. Nice to meet you. And like, it was just really funny because he's like, all right, this chick's crazy. She's funny. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's funny because people, they are like, oh my God, they're a celebrity. I'm like, they're a human. They truly are like humans. Like, they're just famous-ish humans, right? Like, people just know their name and their story. So it's kind of funny when people used to find out that I worked with like famous people, like, that's so cool. I'm like, it's actually not sometimes. Like, I hate to tell you, but it's a little it can be difficult. It can be difficult.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story that this happened to a friend of mine. He was with a former college quarterback. I'm not going to say the names, but he, you know, finished in the top 3 for the Heisman Trophy one year, and they were walking through an airport. And somebody stopped and said, hey, would you mind taking a picture? And, you know, he was like, you could just tell. My friend was like, yeah, you could tell he was thinking, all right, he's doing his hair. He's like, getting ready to take this picture. The lady hands him the camera and she poses with her sister or daughter, whoever it was in the airport. No, she was asking him to take a picture of them.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And it just drained right out of his face.
Well, it's funny because if you're not really big into like pop culture or sports, you don't always know what these people actually look like. And especially like if they're an NFL player and they're wearing a helmet and padding, and then you see this person in real life, they look completely different. Like, and so, you know, I went to the ESPYs one year. And so I went to the pre-party, which is when the Bodies episode and like the Bodies, they had a Bodies pre-party, right? So it was really cool. It was in LA. And I'm walking around and I'm like, I feel like I should know who these people are. They're on the screen. Like, that person's like right there. I don't know who these people are. And people are like, how do you not know? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude, but I actually don't care. Like, that has nothing to do with me, like cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, running a business, and getting on a plane, jaunting everywhere to do a job. Like, I don't have time to memorize sports statistics and like that's so-and-so. I was like, if you guys would have given me a glossary, maybe I could have studied up before I walked into the room. That would have been great. Like a cheat sheet. But it's funny because these people were like talking to me, and I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. Like, funny. If you had a gun to my head, I'd be like, just pull the trigger. I clearly have no clue. And it was funny. I had like a Usher moment. Like, Usher was coming up behind me, and I didn't realize it was him. But I was like, I think that's Usher. I don't think it's Usher. I think it is. He smirked at me, and I smiled at him, and I was like, I think it's Usher. And like, because he looked like more, like he looked smaller than he does on TV. But then when he walked, I was like, oh, that's totally him. But he was like literally 2 feet away from me. Like, we had this, like, I jokingly call, I had the Usher eye moment. And, but ironically, in person, some of these famous people look different. They don't look like they look like on TV. So you don't actually recognize them. And then they're like, what? And you're like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Like, but anyway, that's a fun story. So,
well, it's so true because until the Lightning got really popular the last few years, I have another friend of mine who was neighbors with one of the Lightning players. And the guy would love it when it was time to play in Tampa, because they'd be down here for the season, that no one recognized them when they go out, like go to grocery store, go to the mall, no one cared because they didn't know who they were. But he goes, as soon as we went back home to Canada, he goes, I can't even go get a cup of coffee at a Starbucks without getting mobbed. So
I mean, I feel the same way, you know, when I leave my house, it's like the paparazzi come out, you know, and I'm just like stop, like, I'm trying to be like on the low. Please don't follow me.
You know, I try to be everything to everyone, but you know, there's just only so much time in the day.
Exactly. I can only sign so many autographs. I get carpal tunnel. It's a real thing, like for real.
It's crazy. No, I get it. It's a struggle, and I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Now, I would be remiss because you mentioned, you know, I know you know, last time we spoke, you said you went to the University of Florida.
I did. I was a Gator.
You're a Gator. My daughter's actually a freshman there this year. So she's starting. We're going to the parents' weekend coming up for the football game. But I have to ask, did you watch the CFP playoff broadcast last night?
I did not. So this is the craziest thing, right?
Florida State came in number 4. I don't know if you're. Yeah. So.
Whatever. Who are the top 3?
It was Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and then FSU. So.
Ooh. So I went to the first college football playoff game when it went from the BCS to the CFP in Dallas, and it was Oregon, Ohio State. Great game. Killer game. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind seeing Ohio State in again, but, we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Well, so I know you've done a lot. You've had a lot of experiences, but, the one question I always like to ask people is, what was the biggest storm in your life and how did you overcome it?
Oh, this is a very personal one, and I don't mind sharing it because I've never really actually talked about it. But I would say it was my divorce. It's been 10-ish years, something like that. Yeah, about 10, almost 11 years. And so I've been a single mom since my youngest was 1, and he'll be 12 in a couple months. Wow. And that's actually when I started my sports marketing company. I started it in the middle of a divorce with 4 kids under the age of 11. It was a very, very, very not peaceful, beautiful situation at all. It was like the epitome of all the things like Lifetime TV movie. And, but it is what it is. People, when you love somebody and, there's emotions and monies and all the things, it can be very tumultuous, and that's okay. But thank God we're not those people anymore. But I started my company and everyone thought I was absolutely crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, you have to make money. You have to when I was like, I can make money. Like, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I got this. It's good. And everyone well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to work in sports and entertainment. And I had never worked in sports and entertainment. I didn't even know where to begin. But I'm a woman of faith. And so I just prayed about it. And then I kind of trusted the process. And quite frankly, doors just kind of opened for me. And then I showed up and I performed. I probably undervalued who I was financially, but I said it didn't matter because I knew I had a gift and I knew I could solve problems. And relationships are my jam. People are my thing. And so I built really strong relationships in a very tight niche industry, which sports and entertainment is very, very intertwined, very small. You're like, oh, the world is so big. And you're like, it's really not. It's really not. In those industries, it's very family oriented. Right. And so I just very passionately and with conviction knew I could be this person. So through something that was extremely awful, there was this amazingness. So I would joke that it was the best and worst, I would say 8 years of my life. I would hop on a plane. I'd be in Las Vegas hosting an event with Cirque du Soleil and all these global brands. And my friend was a celebrity chef and he'd prepare all this food. He'd throw a big party and everyone was like, you're so awesome. You're amazing. Yeah. And I'd bring all these great people together. And then I'd get on a plane and I'd fly home and my kids would come home and they were just a wreck. Their week was just crap and they were teenagers and they were just manic. And I was like, what the hell? This is not my life. It was just yay, woo, yay. Woo. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. So it was crazy because I almost had a double life where outside of Tampa, in major cities in the world with major people, I was a rock star. And then I would come home to my normal life and just be like, wow, this is it. This is what this is the hill I die on. Right. And so it was kind of crazy. It,
going from the red carpet to taking out the garbage, huh?
Oh, I'm not kidding. It was so, and I'm just I am so much cuter than this. This is not I can't, it's it was a very unique space and time. It broke me in many ways, but also rebuilt me in so many other ways. So people always ask they always be would you ever, would you do it over again? Would you go back? Would you do it again? And that's a very loaded question because I always say, well, as hard and difficult and painful as that situation was, I don't know if I'd be the woman I am today. Right. You don't know. Like maybe I would be. Maybe this was always my destined path. It just maybe would have been a different way of getting there. But I wouldn't trade the woman I am today for any of the heartache, sadness, pain, joy, happiness, whatever, success that I have. You know what I mean? It's just made me, I mean, I think I'm a pretty cool person.
Yeah, you seem well adjusted.
I think I got a good thing going. Yeah. I've done a lot of therapy. I have a lot of faith. I meditate. I take care of myself. You know, I try to stay pretty neutral. I don't like to let things bother me. Because if you can if you can manage your emotions, right, then you win at life and you don't let people control your emotions. So it's something that I actively work on every day. And I really try to teach my children too, so that they can learn faster than me. Maybe in their 20s they can learn versus in their 30s and 40s. But yeah.
That's cool. No, it sounds like, you know, getting you through that tough time, that trauma in your life, work distracted you. And you came out on the other side, you know, obviously successful. So, and it sounds like you had a little fun on the way too. So that's
I did. I always said that too. I was like, if I have to work every day, I should at least have fun, right? Yeah. Because nobody wants to work. I mean, deep down, we're all like 13-year-olds wishing we had our parents' credit card and living our best life. I mean, nobody wants to get up and be like, I want to work all day and deal with people and put up with nasty emails. That sounds like the best day of my life. So I'm like, well, at least if I have to do that, then I can stand on the sidelines at the kickoff behind the Clemson team, you know, for the college football playoff, right? Or I can do confetti angels on the 50-yard line at the end of the game, like stuff that people just never get to do. And to me, I was like, well, that will cost justify any of the work involved. It created like a really cool experience and balance for me. So
it's funny because I feel the same way about things. And, you know, there's a short example. I'm going to see the Gators are playing Arkansas this weekend, and I'm going to be in a suite. I'm like, hey, if I got to go to Gainesville and watch the Gators, it better be in a damn suite.
Well, it's hot. The swamp is disgusting. It literally is the swamp. So for people who've never been to a game at the swamp, you feel like you're like in Louisiana, in the bayou. There's no air blowing, and it's just swampy. Yeah. And you get swampy. So unless you're in some air condition, it is not fun at all. Or you're drunk, and they have a strong no drinking policy in the stadium. So you got to liquor up to sober up while you're dripping with sweat. So it's a very it's swampy. So I'm excited for you that you're in a suite, because that's baller life right there.
Well, and it's a noon game, and it's a blackout game. So they're wearing black uniforms, which I don't know. I might have to. I think they were thinking it's going to be a night game, which makes sense, but 12 o'clock wearing black in Gainesville, that's going to be hot.
Oh, that's going to be terrible. Especially if it's, is it supposed to get warmer this weekend or cooler?
I don't know.
I don't know what the temperature is like. I'm taking my son to Las Vegas, so we're going to watch basketball, and it's nice there. So I'm excited.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this one last question.
Sure.
If you had one bit of advice for people on some kind of trait or tendency that could help them be successful like yourself, what would that be?
It's actually like a handful of attributes that kind of create a path. Two of my guy friends and I we're creating a podcast called the 300 Million Club. Oh, wow. And we sit and talk about success and what it takes to be successful. And we create these pillars of success. And it all comes down to a key word and then attributable other synonyms that kind of fall under it. And I always say we have to have a vision. You have to know what you want. You have to know where you're trying to go. And then you have to create an action plan, right? And so quick, everybody wants to just get there tomorrow. But if you're building any kind of brand, business, legacy, empire, whatever word you want to use, you got to manage your expectations a little bit. Because the faster they rise, the harder they fall. That is a real thing. You miss details, you miss steps. And so patience and faith are huge components of that, which is really hard when you're a driver, right? And then you have to be able to have discipline. And I say conviction too. My male counterparts will say discipline and resolve, because those are just more to the point, no deviation, head down, very male, analytical, but I'm a woman and we have deeper feeling and emotion. And I'm also like a mom. So I say conviction because if I don't genuinely like want to go after something and have like the passion to pursue it, it doesn't matter how much discipline I have, my heart's not in it. So like I have to truly want to get up every morning and chase after it, no matter how hard it is. And then I would say mastering your emotions, because you're an entrepreneur, right? And you're a parent. You know how it is. Like your kids are going to call, something's going to happen, some expense is going to pop up. You're in the middle of closing a deal and you've got all this happening around you, and you have to stay kind of focused and say, okay, I'll handle this later. And you cannot waver, because if your feelings take over, you have zero clarity and you can't focus, right?
No, it's true.
So, and that's a hard one for, I think it's a hard one for most people. It's definitely a harder one for women. And I personally have felt that in my years in business. I'm the person my kids call, like at school when there's a problem, when there's an emergency, mom. And I'm like, I have 5 calls. I can't handle this right now, like, and so it has made me be like, honey, I love you. I'll call you in 30 minutes, right? Like managing that boundary and then not allowing it to derail me from my focus. So yeah, I'd say vision, plan, discipline, and conviction, and definitely mastering your emotions. Like I think all of them are super important. But if I had to really just pick one, honestly, I'd say conviction.
Yeah.
You have to want it more than you want anything else.
It's like mindset, right?
It really is. Like, because if you don't want it bad enough, like my one son wants to play in the NBA, and he's a killer basketball player. He plays Jesuit. He's awesome. My baby daddy played college ball. Kind of goes in the family. He wants to play at Oregon. That's why I'm taking him to Vegas. We're watching Oregon play. And he's like, I want to play in the NBA. And I go, okay. And so he'll have these moments where I can kind of tell like he's kind of off. And I look at him and I go, if at any moment this isn't your dream anymore, that's okay. Like, you're not going to disappoint me.
Yeah.
I said, because I want it for you because you want it so bad. But at any moment you don't want it anymore, we pick a different dream. Mm-hmm. We go after that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't get you there. Like, I can't do it for you. So if at any point this and this don't match, cut our losses. We move on to something else. Because I said, you have to want it more than anything else. You have to taste it and see it, and you can like feel it. It's like there. That is the driving force that's going to get you to the next level. And it's going to push you past your pain, your exhaustion, your stress, your frustration, whatever it is. If you don't have the heart to chase something, you're never going to get there. I mean, I truly, really believe that. I know it sounds emotional, but I really believe that a dream is an emotion.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's really good advice, because, I think people go into these, these ideas like, hey, I want to do X, I want to do Y. And, maybe that they're not cut out to do it. And that's fine. Not everybody can be an NBA player. Not everyone can be a doctor. But, knowing your limitations and being able to accept it and overcome it, I think shows a true, a tough mindset. You know what I mean? Like a conviction, like what you were saying earlier.
Yep.
Good deal.
I agree. Yep.
So, hey, one last question. I always like to ask this one too. What was the first concert you went and saw?
Okay. Do you remember the band Rush?
Yeah.
My dad was a drummer.
Okay.
An amazing drummer. He actually auditioned for a bunch of like Whitesnake and
Neil Peart was their drummer.
He was.
Yeah.
So I grew up on Rush. So my first concert was Rush. My second concert was the Charlie Daniels Band.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a piece of sheet music. I have The Devil Written Down to Georgia, like the colored sheet music or whatever, autographed by Charlie Daniels. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I have an eclectic history too. I went and saw Kiss the first time.
Oh, that's an interesting concert. I've seen that in Vegas. It's a little bit trippy.
Yeah, and then I followed it up with Simple Minds.
I don't know Simple Minds.
Well, they do that song. It was in The Breakfast Club.
Oh, yep.
Yep. I always tell this story because they played at Curtis Hickson Hall. There is no Curtis Hickson Hall anymore.
No, it's gone. Yeah.
How long ago that was? That was like the true 80s band experience. But
that's awesome.
Well, hey, I appreciate your time today. It's really good talking to you. I hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
And, enjoy the rest of your week, and I know I'm going to say be a success out there, but I know you will be. So
Thank
anyway,
you.
we'll have fun doing it.
You. And then if anybody wants to be on Chip's show, you should totally message him and like be on a show. He's pretty awesome. He's an awesome human.
I think I can work you in.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good day.